building the character along with you, and we were shooting it, and I'm trying all these shirts that I would never wear in a million years, and she said to me, "Do you know why Ben Bradlee walked into a room and owned it? Do you know why?" And I said, "Because he knew." And she said, "Because he knew." So you end up just building this you couldn't explain it, you couldn't write it down for a million years, but you take it from whatever source you can, and you think, hey, I'm safe here, I'll be all right.
Yeah. Were you ever intimidated when you work on something? Are you intimidated if you work with Meryl Streep? I don't know.
Yeah. No, there's an intimidation. I don't feel like we're really making the movie until about 3 days in. Because you got to meet everybody and you're trying to get it, and you probably haven't rehearsed, but you are saying, I know your movies and I know, we know everybody, you're just some degree of fan, and until you get to that place where you're just in the slog of things, then you're making the same movie. But I will tell you, I don't know if you found this, but the legends, the heroes that you get to work with, they all do it the same exact way. They want to run the lines, they want to get it down, they try it a million different ways, they start, they stop, they feel confident, they don't. And that also was a liberating process to witness.
I felt like that with John Hurt, having worked on Tinker on the first day of working with him. I couldn't wait to get there. And there he was smoking a cigarette, standing there outside his trailer. And I was fanboy. It was like, he happened to be a really wonderful human being, too, as well as a great actor. But it was just such a thrill to meet him and to play some scenes with him. I'd admired his work so much over the years.
You shot a scene in Star Wars with Prince William and Prince Harry. Was that intimidating?
Yeah, and Tom Hardy. It was a strange contrast of a weird family, but it wasn't intimidating. It was fun to me. I thought it was like, of course, it's Star Wars. They're going to bring the royal family, and it felt fun.
With a stormtrooper costume.
Yeah, they were wrapped in stormtrooper costumes, and so that was just for me. It's the best of both worlds for me, But it was a great experience seeing it.
When you make the Star Wars movies, is it hard not to go when you're firing the things by yourself?
I'm doing it all the damn time.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. All the time. It's just you're a child. There's a new planet every day and a new scene to play, and it just makes you feel as if you're a part of history in a sense, and a part of something that you grew up knowing, but now it's your reality, and it's strange on a day-to-day basis.
Well, that's the surprising thing again about what we do. There you're watching these films as a kid, and then suddenly you're in one.
Yeah. And as everyone says, like literally.
Is it different when you're in a real-life story like Detroit, and how do you go about researching that?
It's definitely different. It's the importance that this true story is going to be seen by so many people. And the world is tainted right now, and this story is sensitive to the issues that we have, and you're basically creatively commenting on something. It puts you in a position of some form of responsibility. So on set, there is much more of a level of seriousness, but it's shared in unity. But it's still, there's a much more of a serious tone that's required on a set like Detroit. Whereas in Star Wars, you've got J.J. Abrams, popping every cashew you can find in his mouth, and then, everyone's having much more of a lighter time because it's like, oh, it's Chewbacca getting his hair just brushed, it's like.
What do you mean the world is tainted now?
I mean, Detroit is a reflection, even though it's set near enough 50 years ago, it's a reflection of what's going on now in terms of race relations, and it's strange, you watch a movie like Detroit and expect it to be based in, 2017, and the lines are blurred in terms of how far we've come.
Fellas, sometimes when a black guy is put in a position of authority, other black guys, they like to single you out, okay? Because I'm not supposed to tell them what to do.
When we have these conversations, we do them in stages, okay? Stage 1, witnesses. Stage 2, suspects.
Do you ever feel that as actors you're not doing something meaningful enough, or do you feel that there is a purpose to it?
Oh, I think I just want to entertain and make people laugh.
Sam just want to get that check.
I just want to get my check. I mean, it's always
Broadway check.
just the Broadway.
You're making those big money choices, Sam. Without
I mean, you always kind of think you're doing Citizen Kane. you know, and nobody sees the movie, or sometimes people do see the movie, but I think you think you're doing Hamlet every time, and then sometimes it turns out that way, sometimes it doesn't. I think you're trying to do the best thing ever.
The same commitment and energy goes into making a bad movie. No one sets
Exactly.
out to do
Exactly.
it.
It's the story of my movie.
Which brings us to,
He thought he was making Streetcar Named Desire.
Well,
and
does he still think that?
that's one of the crazy things about Tommy Wiseau. On the original poster, he had written the copy. He wrote Tennessee Williams level drama. Shows what he thought he had made. He told people they would not be able to sleep for 2 weeks after watching the movie because they'd be so devastated. And then when it came out, people laughed. And he didn't take Tennessee Williams level drama off the poster. He just added an enjoyable black comedy. So it's like he went into that trying to just make a movie that would, move people, the best movie that he could.
Is that how you approach the role as well? Being an actor, playing an actor?
I tried to make the best movie I could. But it was about how I treated him. I treated him with respect, as somebody, as an outsider artist, just trying to do what we're all trying to do. Everybody that comes to Hollywood is on the outside and with a dream. It's all of us. And so if I treated it like that, it would become a much bigger story than just a spoof about a guy that made.
Do you all know what this is about? The film The Room, which may be the worst film ever made.
I mean, there are.
What film was this that I missed? What?
The
My
Room.
movie, The Disaster Artist,
yeah.
is about the making of an actual film called The Room. Now, not the great Brie Larson.
Yes.
Okay, yes, yeah. Well, that was Room. So
Yes.
you made it to the WGA with the addition of
Yeah, a
THC.
couple years ago when she won, they had at the screenings of The Room, they said not the Brie Larson one. And it came out. He paid for everything. It was $6 million of his own money. It looks about like it was made for $6. He put it out for 2 weeks to qualify for the Academy Awards. Didn't qualify, and then it just became a cult hit, and it's been playing for 14 years, once a month, in almost every major city.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Oh yeah, Tommy weird. Tommy like Frankenstein. He like vampire rapist. I hear everything. I have ears everywhere. I hear your whispers in your souls. You're on my planet, okay?
Wait, so you've been spying on your entire production?
Yeah, that's right.
That's fucking crazy.
That's how it is. So now you know. Next time you make laughter, ha 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 ha. I don't care who you are. You're out on the street.
What about me? Am I still fired?
All right, I'll give you one more chance.
Did he ever ask you if you liked his film?
I love the film. I mean, no, I do. I've watched that film almost as much as the James Dean films. I've watched that film about 50 times. And so have the fans. The Room it's like the gift that keeps on giving. People just keep coming back. So that you have to sort of admit there's something there, And I don't think it's just that he made strange, bizarre choices all the way through. I think it's partly the magic sauce is that there's so much passion underneath. I mean, there are thousands upon thousands of bad movies that we'll never watch again. But people watch this one over and over. And I think it's partly because of the heart and soul underneath.
You said, we're all at one point of an outsiders with a dream. Were you an outsider and what was your dream?
Mine, when I started performing, really just to make things and be near people that excited me. And I started out in the theater, in an unconventional theater in New York, and was with that theater for 27 years. We'd go there every day and work. And we'd open things in process. Once we made things, we'd keep them in repertory. And then after a while, we were pretty much reviled for many years. And then we started to get some play with international touring and started getting a reputation. And then through Europe, we kind of were accepted here.
Why were you guys reviled in American initially? Why?
They just thought what we were doing is bullshit.
Yeah.
No, they just didn't think because the aesthetic was not a polished aesthetic. We were doing things that a lot of us. I was not well trained as an actor, but most of them came from different disciplines. But that was a time in New York, we're talking about the mid-'70s, where a lot of people, painters were making music, dancers were making films. It was all mixed up. And there was also kind of a subculture that wasn't careerist. They were just doing things for now, and that was beautiful training for me. It also, you have to do it for your own pleasure, and you have to do it to express yourself, and then hopefully there's like-minded people out there. I think the second that you start thinking too much about what people need, it becomes something else. When I was playing Jesus, I was not cowed because I understood. We weren't doing Jesus for all time. We were doing our Jesus, And I think whenever you're working, on a historical character, a character where you have a really strong reference, it's your take on it. That's all you're responsible for, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Did playing Jesus change any of your views of religion?
Absolutely. And for how I'm making things, because it was one of the most demanding things that I've done.
But Willem, what do you do? Because you play Jesus or like the vampire in Nosferatu. Those are based on real characters, but who knows how Jesus looked or behaved or whatever. So the pressure's off. But have you ever had a real life character where? It's like,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that kind of pressure. It's not like if you had a certain look and they're like, you didn't get the look right. You don't look like, you know what I mean?
I made a movie about Pasolini in Italy.
Yeah, right.
And he's a beloved figure.
Yeah.
And I did feel that responsibility, but I thought it's just crazy enough that so many people have, he's a revered figure, but it takes a couple of crazy Americans to make a movie about an Italian cultural hero. But we had so much support from his family and from people around him. I was wearing his clothes. We were shooting the actual places. There were so many people that were supportive that really helped. They were like little touchstones. They were like little relics that we had and the support of the people. Similarly, like this movie, Florida Project, that's out now. One of the most beautiful things about that is Sean Baker, the director, knows how to mix actual things with fiction. We were shooting in an operating motel, and we were there basically living with those people. And what helped more than anything else,
No.
I didn't stay there at night. I didn't stay there at night, but during the day I'd go there, and I didn't have a trailer. I'd had my little room, and I was next to Troy, and I was next to so-and-so and so-and-so. I'd talk to them, they'd talk to me. Those people became my people. And I think the lesson for me there was that always has to happen. When you approach something, you have to close the difference between them and us, and they become you, And then you have some sort of authority and some sort of stake, and you're not going to be egotistical or exploitative, And that's what was so beautiful, really guided by Sean in this experience, because the generosity of those people opening themselves up and letting us be at their place to mix with them and kind of tell their story was, I think, what gives the film some integrity.
You come on this property again and you won't be leaving it, you understand?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about? You're gonna play it that way, huh?
Hey.
All right. Charlie Coachman of Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
You can't kick me out, that's my license.
I'm gonna call your name into the county sheriff. Now you get the fuck out of here.
Sam, is there any kind of character you would refuse to play? I mean, you play a pretty bigoted guy in 3 Billboards. Did you hesitate?
I get all these rednecks, Green Mile. I play the racist.
You got stained right off the bat, Sam. At least you don't have to wear the hideous brown teeth that go along with it.
Tom was very. That was one of my first studio movies. Tom was very generous. I had to spit in his face.
We just had this guy come in and says, "Oh, this genius guy is going to come in and play this other thing." That was a great set.
That was a
Good
great
movie.
set. It was like doing a play.
It was a bunch of guys who loved each other. We came out of our trailers
Listen.
for scenes that we were not in order to watch.
You went to Hollywood Boulevard to put your hands in the concrete.
Oh, yeah.
And you could have gone home. They sent you away, and you came back to do off camera. You came back to do off
because
camera.
Frank Darabont will shoot 16-hour days and eat every meal.
Yeah, but you could have gone home, and you came back. You're very generous.
Well, it was only 3 blocks away.
So let's talk about playing those
and-
bigots. Have you ever said no to one because you just couldn't bear the character?
I think the pedophile thing is something I can't mess with. That's something it's too. I did that once, and but they're always trying to throw me on a horse, or it's weird because I'm a city kid. For some reason, I think I have an affinity for it, and I've dated some Southern girls, and so it's and I watched Coal Miner's Daughter maybe too many times, Tender Mercies,
Do you take those characters home with you, or do they affect you in a negative way?
No, I don't. I go home and watch The Simpsons or something. I mean, you do live with it in your mind. Obviously, it stays with you.
You're working.
You're working.
Yeah. It's working.
It's working,
But you don't.
Gary's played some rednecks,
I played some scary people.
Yeah.
When's the bail hearing?
I asked the judge to give her bail on account of her previous marijuana violations, and the judge said, sure.
You fucking prick.
You're not calling an officer of law a fucking prick in his own station house, Mrs. Hayes. Or anywhere, actually.
What's with the new attitude, Dixon? Your mama been coaching you?
No. My mama doesn't do that.
It's funny you were saying about people playing iconic, very famous people.
Yeah.
I mean, Churchill is arguably the greatest Briton that ever lived, to many. And they have an idea of who he is. And they've seen these pictures.
Right.
But do they really know who he is? Or are they remembering Churchill? Or are they remembering Albert Finney as Churchill? Or Robert Hardy as Churchill? I think I was somewhat contaminated by those other actors.
In England, there are much more mixed feelings about Churchill than certainly in America.
Sure.
And when I was growing up, there were those who admired him, and there was a dissenting view. But did you come away with more mixed feelings about Churchill from your research?
No, I came away with enormous admiration for him. He's incomparable to any figure. Lincoln, possibly. Lincoln is the closest, I think. Here's a man, 50 years in politics. He wrote 50 books, the Nobel Prize for Literature, painted 540 paintings, had 16 exhibitions at the Royal Academy, flip-flopped twice, commended in 4 wars.
Flip-flop politically?
Yeah, certainly his mind and ingenuity took us through. He navigated that very, very cleverly, the Second World War. I mean, it's a towering achievement, just the life.
How did you uncorrupt yourself from those other performances?
I went to the footage and I saw a man who was energized and had vitality. He looked like a baby. He had a cherubic face, a sort of naughty schoolboy grin with a sparkle in his eye. He was marching ahead of everyone. It was like moving through space with a fixity of purpose, and energy. And he has been played as a sort of grumpy, a man born in a bad mood, a grumpy curmudgeon drunk with a whiskey and a cigar. I didn't set out deliberately to be different, but the man that I saw in this footage was different to some of the ways that he has been represented.
Christian Bale call you about the fat suit, your fat suit? Didn't he call you?
He called me about the jowls because he said, "Man, that makeup's good."
How'd you handle the 4 hours every day?
I
4 in, 1 out. That's usually about what it is,
4 in,
right?
1 out.
Was it prosthetics and
and
a whole bunch of stuff?
I had 2 people working on me at the same time, and with great patience and humour, we got through it. And of course, there's that exciting moment when sounds 3 hours in, or 2 hours 50, you start to see in the mirror. It was a lovely way in. And the interesting thing is, by the time I was ready and dressed, the crew arrived and the other actors, and we would rehearse. And I came to the set as Churchill. So Joe Wright, the director, didn't see Gary for 3 months.
Hitler will not insist on outrageous terms. He will know his own weaknesses. He will be reasonable.
When will the lesson be learned? When will the lesson be learned? How many more dictators must be wooed, appeased, good God, given him mixed privileges, before we learn? You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth!
Tom, you've made documentaries about World War II. You did Saving Private Ryan. Have you thought about Churchill? Would you ever imagine playing him yourself?
Oh, dear Lord, no. That's for not. That'd be like me playing a Welsh coal miner or something like that. I don't think that's good casting. No, hey, how about that?
Is there anybody who would like to play that you haven't?
No, I don't. I must say I don't operate that way. I mean, I'm not saying something would come across the desk with, oh my Lord, I've never even imagined this. But no, I think that is an inorganic approach to, I think, what we do, which is very instinctive. We have to have some, what do they call it, a coup de fou, a lightning bolt has to hit you, and then suddenly you can't get it out of your head. There are themes, though, however, that I would love to be able to examine. I made this one movie, Castaway, because I wanted to examine the concept of 4 years of hopelessness in which you have none of the requirements for living, which is food, water, shelter, fire, and company. But it took us 6 years in order to put together the alliance that would actually examine that the way it was. And I only had a third of it, and Bill Broyles only had a third of it, so we had 2/3 of this examined theme, and then nothing happened until Bob Zemeckis comes along and provided that other third. That's the stuff that ends up...
What do you mean you only had a third of it?
Well, I had that original idea. I said a guy, I was reading an article about FedEx, and I realized that 747s filled with packages fly across the Pacific 3 times a day, and they're filled with nothing but packages. And I just thought, what happens if that goes down? You know, what's lost? Packages. Oh, except maybe, well, then, so it's not a...
Whose third was the volleyball?
I was going to ask the same.
Actually, that
Wilson.
that was Bill Broyles. I had the search for the 5 elements, and I had the logic of how he ended up there.
Because you need what I did 127 hours. Another guy isolated.
Yeah.
Until they figured out, oh, he has the video camera, and he can externalize the thoughts. Danny was like, I don't know how to do it. And Simon Beaufoy, his writer, wouldn't write it until they figured that out. And the that's what you need.
Well, Bill had the volleyball, but he hadn't, Bill Broyles, who wrote it, he had me paint a face on it to give myself company. And Bob said, no, it's got to come out of your own blood, you know? So he made it an accident out of a bloody hand. So it's like my offspring is there in order to talk to it.
That's how Wilson was born.
That's how Wilson was born.
You lost a lot of weight quickly for that, because I remember on Green Mile you were heavy,
I was
and then you had to lose it quick.
Had a whole year.
Not to get into all that.
We shot the fat of half of the movie, and then we took a year off.
Oh, you had a year.
And didn't he made the Harrison Ford?
Bob made What Lies Beneath with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer with the same crew in order to keep everybody together.
You tortured yourself.
And I went off and grew a beard, you know, as long as Interstate 10, and lost every pound I possibly could.
Wow.
I don't recommend it. It's no way to live. Better to stay trim and better to stay in that Jesus shape all year round. Every now and again, you have to comment on the absurdity of what you do for a living.
Absolutely. Yeah,
we have
grown
come,
men,
like in England, it always drives me nuts in England because you think, oh, we're going to go shoot this movie at, Pinewood Studios and Shepperton Studios. And it has this patina of class and distinction, and Alec Guinness and David Lee, and you get there, it looks like an abandoned gas works. It's just one of the most hideous, uncomfortable, cold, dank places on the planet.
Those corridors and old sinks.
Yeah, and yet you put on colorful clothes and come in and bounce around the set, and you go like, this is silly. You know?
I want to come back to something you just said, which is, you know, you're drawn to certain themes. There's one thing that hasn't been explored in film, not for a while, which is the big issue Hollywood's dealing with, sexual harassment. Should it be? And what should you as guys be doing about this now?
Should it be what?
Explored by Hollywood as a theme?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, it's horrible stuff that's going on. It's depressing and it's sad because obviously some of these people are very talented, and it's depressing that if they're predators, of course they have to go down. But I mean, it's fucking sad and depressing.
Has it surprised you? What's come out?
No, because look, there's a lot of reasons people do this for a living. Making a movie is a life experience that can create an awful lot of joy. You can meet the person you fall in love with. You can laugh your heads off. You can make the best friend you've ever had. You can work with one of your heroes. That's the good stuff that can happen on a movie. The bad stuff can happen on a movie as well. There's some people that go into this business because they got off in having power. And the most times they feel the most powerful, which is why they went into the business, is when they're making, and I mean hitting on, and don't necessarily, completely sexual on somebody that's underneath them. I mean, there are predators absolutely everywhere, and there's some that I must say, really, wow. But there's, the big McGilla, the one that started it all off on, it says, well,
Harvey, you mean?
Yeah.
Have you seen anything like that happen, and have you taken action, or have you then regretted not taking action?
We produced a project in which someone said, there's an element of harassment that's going on here. And as soon as we heard, you got to jump right in. You got to you talk to every one of the guilds and find out what happens, and you go immediately there. There's stuff that happens on a set that can be really inappropriate. And there can be that type of predatory aspect on a set because you think, well, we're in the circus and we're on the road, so therefore do the rules really apply? They don't really apply. There's the other aspect of it is that come try to get this job from me. You want me to give you a job? Come on, come prove to me that you want this job. That's a sin, and that's against the law, and that is a degree of harassment and predatory behavior that goes against an assumed code of ethics. I think eventually, everybody who has an office or a production office above the coffee maker or the copy machine is going to have a code of ethics and behavior. If you don't follow these, you will not work here. And that's not necessarily going to be a bad thing. Somebody said, I don't know who it was, it says, is it too late to change things? No, it's never too late to change things. It's never too late to learn new behaviors. And that's a responsibility of anybody who wants to obey a code of professional ethics.
Do you all agree with that, James?
Yeah, if it change it, yeah, of course. Any situation where, one group of people is, being taken advantage of or treated differently than, needs to change. It's everyone's responsibility to step up, of course.
What's been your own toughest moment as an actor when you were talking about, that fear or something else? Have you had a particularly tough moment?
On The Circle.
Talking about fear again?
Really?
Yeah.
What happened in The Circle?
On my second to last day, I had a big speech that basically put the whole movie and the narrative in context for the audience who weren't listening for the last 2 hours. And it was a really important moment, and I just froze up. I froze up and I forgot the whole thing. And I was there on set with Emma Watson, who was amazing about it. I literally found myself in basically a 01 acting class with Emma Watson trying to say, just remember the lines. What are your intentions? What are your motivations? And I just couldn't get it.
How'd you
and
get
it was
through
embarrassing.
How'd you get through it?
Well, they had to...
Cue cards or...
they had to shoot it chunk by chunk, but at the same time, I had, Emma Watson behind, just trying to mouth the lines. I didn't understand it, and I had to reevaluate this whole thing when I got back into my private time and understand what the issue was. And
what was the issue?
The issue was fear of schedule. I have a fear. I have a fear of schedule. I've only just started my career, and this is my first year in which I've worked on projects back to back. I've never had that opportunity in my career before. So one of the things that I picked up was that I'm now viewing my life in chunks. Oh, I'm filming Star Wars in 2017, then I've got another thing to do.
Adorable when the kids experience.
So it's just like, it's mad. I've never experienced it before because, you know, where I grew up and how I grew up is it's a day-by-day situation. It's, you know, it's class every day. You know, it's church on a particular day. But now it's like, well, you've got this schedule that's 6-7 months down the line, and you're now viewing your life in chunks. And sometimes you forget to rest. Your mind is constantly going.
Sorry, I mean, is it a thing where you feel like you have to be responsible for for an entire year? You're going to have to be a certain amount of.
It's that. So you overwork. I mean, you know that you've got time to prepare for the role, but I guess I'm a young man. I try to just do the testosterone thing and just juggle and have it all going at the same time, trying to learn lines for this, trying to be prepped for that, training for that. And then I understood my limits, you know.
James, you do a little juggling, right?
Not anymore.
You said
I stopped.
You said recently you hit a wall.
I did.
When
you juggle
and
long enough, you drop some balls. I mean, not drop balls, but it's not actually like that. It's more like.
It's okay. You can drop some balls when you get so many in the air, man.
Whatever the metaphor. You know, it's more like I was doing that. I was holding on to work because it was where I felt the most safe. And it was just like, not even being aware of that. It was just like, I need more. I need to fill this. I need to fill it. Subconsciously, it was just like, that's what I know the best. And that's where I feel most comfortable. And then realizing after a while, it's sort of diminishing returns that, you know, doing so many things for me was actually not comforting me anymore. And that if I realized, be more, you know, fewer things with more attention with people that, you know, I really love working with and care about, that will give me exactly what I was, you know, seeking by doing so many things.
I had just under a year to think about Churchill, and we had 4 weeks rehearsal in a rehearsal room with props, with furniture, saying the words out loud with the actors that you're going to be doing the scene with.
That's awesome.
Discussing, you know, what works, what doesn't work. I have to say, you know, I go in and out of, I lose my love for it. I lose my love for acting. Because it's you get there, you're supposed to have a relationship with a person that you've only met the day before. You don't really rehearse. You kind of block with camera sometimes out of the gate. And you go, you want to go? You want to do one? Yeah, you do a take. Yeah, that was good, that was good. You want one more? Well, I've come all this way. Yeah, let's, you know, and we've got to move on. It's amazing anything is any good. And I just get so sad working like that and go, really? You know.
Did you ever think of quitting acting?
Many times.
So then where do you find the passion for it again?
When you do something that comes as Mr. Hanks here said, you know, it's not, I mean, it was, you know, Dracula was never on my bucket list. It was Coppola, which made it interesting, and it came across the desk. So you're at the mercy of the industry, the imagination of the people that are casting you, and they go, oh, yeah, Gary's played these villains. What about Jim Gordon? You know, and then a Tinker Tailor comes in, or a Churchill, or an opportunity to work with, as I've done with, sadly, the late Tony Scott, that I work with, and I work with Ridley, and you work with some of these people, and you get re-energized and inspired, and you remember why you want to do it.
Let me ask.
Yeah.
Gary, I mean, that sounds like a month of rehearsal sounds amazing, and it's almost unheard of. You know, I'm sure you and Joe Wright led the charge on that. Like, this is what you want to be a part of this movie. This is what we're doing, and all that. But you know, a lot of times you just can't do that. But I also think sometimes it depends on the type of film.
Yeah.
For example, I don't know, maybe you guys had a month of rehearsal for the Florida Project. I don't know, but I remember doing another Florida movie, Spring Breakers, and part of the vibe of that is immersing into the environment and bringing, you know, the real people in. And so I really don't think a month of rehearsal with like non-actors is going to, you know, help.
But that was the Harmonies film.
Yeah.
Which you were superb.
I heard you watched it and you didn't know it was me.
I had no idea it was you. And
That's incredible.
And I said, God, that creepy ass guy. Where'd you find him? And they went, "This James Franco."
I haven't seen it. It's really a phenomenal film.
Yeah.
But your scenes with the King, for example, that must have, the rehearsal for those scenes must have played huge dividends because every beat is so tiny and small, and you can't find that in, you know, before lunch on the set and then move on to the second half of the scene.
Yeah, we came in and the rhythm and we clicked, and just really started to roll from take one. That what you're talking about, and I know Harmony, and we've often talked about doing something together, and I would gladly throw myself into something like that. That is a very specific kind of movie that you're talking about, and an experience that you're talking about with a director that has a real point of view and a process that he, with the way he likes to work. I'm just talking about some of those where you feel like it's just you've got to work, but you don't want a job. That's that. It's that.
Is there a film that you've seen recently that has revitalized you, or that's actually changed your thinking about something? A film this year?
I'm going to say Get Out.
Yeah, that was damn good.
Get Out. Get Out.
Yeah.
Was 19 things all at once. It was a creepy Twilight Zone movie. It was a stand-up comedy act. It was about two people in love, regardless of their station in life. I think it's very hard to make a contemporary movie that actually does capture the zeitgeist and the place that we are in right now. At the end of the day, at the end of that movie, it accomplished something that I had never, ever seen in a movie. There is a dead white woman who has killed herself, right? He did, and there's a black guy with all her blood on her, and the police come, and he's innocent. But what is going to happen to this guy? And they get out of it. No spoiler.
Well, you know
alert.
they reshot the ending.
Well,
They
right,
did?
which
Oh,
was
yeah. What
which
was
was
the
fantastic.
original one?
He went to jail.
Oh, he gets taken to jail. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything recently that's really impacted you?
When We Were Kings had a big effect on me. I think that there's something about Muhammad Ali, and we were talking about fear and joy. You know, Foreman made him wait 10 minutes before he came out. He was trying to psych him out. And Ali psychs himself up to he starts shadow boxing, talking to the audience, Ali, Mumbai. And Ali's scared, you know, he's scared. That guy Foreman was the Mike Tyson at that time, and he mustered up the courage, you know. And so when I'm scared and I have stage fright and all that stuff, I think of that.
Were you scared when you
Excited.
went into 3 billboards?
Always scared. Yeah, sure.
Of what?
Of sucking, of, you know, of all that stuff. You know, you're scared all the time. I mean, I was scared when I was doing the play Fool for Love that I would rope shitty when Ed Harris came, because he'd done the original production. And thank God I wrote good when he came, yeah.
You wrote good when I came.
Good.
did you talk about that with Martin McDonagh when you did it, or what were those conversations?
I think that I had the luxury of a lot of time. I went down to southern Missouri and I did some ride-alongs with cops and stuff like that, and you know. But
That's interesting. Was that
a
good or bad
How'd they
experience?
treat you as a celebrity ride-along?
They were great. Guy named Josh McCullen. He taped my lines in a tape recorder. My dialect coach, Liz Himmelstein, found a cop, and Martin didn't want much of an accent, so I said, you know, Liz, I think we're gonna have to tape another cop. This cop doesn't have enough of an accent. We found another cop, went down there, did some ride-alongs. But I have an acting coach, Terry Knickerbocker. You know, it takes a village, you know. I mean, I do a lot of work ahead of time. You don't get to rehearse, and so you're just ready to go when you get on set.
Do you all do a lot of work ahead of time?
It depends.
Yeah, it depends. But I think
Sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes you don't have to. I think.
When?
You know, I think for me anyway, you just look for the triggers and you look for the thing that gives you the confidence to say, I am this guy, or you can receive what's happening. We were talking about different kinds of movies. I tend to make a lot of movies where you try to capture these moments and you don't get time to craft things, you know? And that's interesting. But to start out with, to overcome this fear, overcome this uncertainty, kind of direct your energies, you need to hang on to something. And sometimes it can be something as simple as a costume. I always go back to Wild at Heart. I had these teeth. They were everything. I put those teeth in my mouth, and it kept me from closing my mouth. I always had this expression, and I felt like I knew who the guy was, you know?
Yeah.
Other times, you feel totally insecure about approaching being this person until you create a history, until you make things happen, until you learn things that make you have a shift in your head to feed the imagination. Because you can't just imagine things from a dead, you know, stop. You got to make something, you know, and then you turn it into something.
That's how I felt working on Detroit, because it was interesting that the detachment to the project and not enough time was a part of the creative process, especially for Catherine, that we didn't know everything that was going to happen on a day-to-day basis, and so there was always a feeling of channeling that very, you know, nervous energy, that feeling of being fearful.
She fosters that.
Yeah, she fosters that into the scene,
yeah.
And so then you realize after about 2 weeks of getting used to it that it's vital. It's a part of performance for this specific project.
Yeah.
Whereas when I go on something else, you know, I might get time and I'll use it. You know.
With Lars von Trier, he always says, first of all, he doesn't want you to know where the camera is. He prohibits rehearsal. And his mantra is, we only need one.
Yeah,
you know? But, you know, then you watch something like what Gary did, it's a different kind of movie.
If you could put one movie, one performance, not your own, in a time capsule, I know you're going to say several, but choose one that's particularly meaningful for you that you've seen that's impacted you.
Deer Hunter.
Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
Why?
I had a huge impact on me, I think, when I was a kid. Yeah. Saw it with my father. And my father kind of looked like De Niro in that. He had a beard and a mole and stuff, yeah.
John?
Tom Hardy in The Warrior was to me just a powerful performance. Personally, I found myself engrossed in a narrative that made me reflect into my own life, just because of the versatility of roles that Tom Hardy has had back to back is shocking to me.
Tom, what about you?
Well, I'd go to Robert Duvall on any number of characters that he's done, just because he did not look like the movie star that was supposed to be, and he did some very subtle stuff with Coppola. When I go back and examine the breadth of everything that he did, I think a lot of what we have to figure out as actors is one is particular to us and the other one is particular to the movie. Particular to us is the behavior. We have to get the behavior down, and that it's not our behavior. As a matter of fact, if it is your behavior, you better go outside yourself and find something so that you're not just being you. Although sometimes it doesn't matter so much, but you have to get the behavior down. And the other part of it is the protocol, meaning like how the people live in the world that they live in, what is required of them, what is their job, how much they sleep and eat. And Robert Duvall, I think he always finds that behavior in the protocol. I think the best of them all is Tom Hagen in The Godfather. You know, he's not the Italian. He's not even related to him. He's just a kid that they found in the street, but he becomes this guy who is always explaining the legal aspect of it.
If we're taking more than one, I'll say De Niro in Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, and Raging Bull. Just the prime, you know, collaborations with Scorsese and you know, Goodfellas. But those three, like, I've never seen De Niro behave in the way that he did in Mean Streets. It's just like this exuberance of youth. He's just like ready to go, and it's like the first collaboration with this guy that you know they'll go on to have all these incredible things together. And then Taxi Driver, there's just never been anything like that. The kind of preparation we're talking about, you know, that's like Raging Bull is. That's the role everyone talks, you know, gaining the weight and whatever. Like, that's the role where you're like, oh, that's what preparation means.
Willem, name one.
Frankenstein movies.
Oh,
Boris Karloff.
Julius
yeah.
performance.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about you, Gary?
George C. Scott, his work in the Kubrick film.
Yeah.
And very last question, speed round here. Just a very brief answer. If you couldn't act, you all have hobbies. What would you pursue? Tom, I know you've been writing.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. Some brand of daily journalism.
Oh,
yeah, like a column. Goings on about town kind of thing.
Oh,
I'd like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we're very happy to hire you at the Hollywood Reporter.
know,
and I
right?
think
Easy now.
John, how about you?
Probably architecture.
James?
If I wasn't an actor, director.
Too close.
What? I mean, writer? Well, you're probably going to get both anyway, do you know what I mean?
Oh, what about you?
Pumping gas. I got no plan B. I don't have no skills, man.
No plan B?
Yes, that's it. Bar backing, busting tables.
Cook or a farmer?
Oh.
What about yoga? You're good at
A
yoga.
yogi? That's my
Gary.
practice.
Last but not least.
Well, I have my sort of hobby is I do 19th century wet plate photography.
Wow.
So I would do that, I could do that till the end of time.
Wow.
Wow.
I envy you that passion.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, this was such a great roundtable. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
It's fun. Thank you.
That was it. Well, you guys were so excellent.
Wait.
Ready?
Okay, quiet on set.
And I look down the lens.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hi, I'm Margot Robbie.
Bryan Cranston. Robert Pattinson.
John Boyega.
Sam Rockwell.
Willem Dafoe.
Emma Stone.
Alison Janney.
Guillermo del Toro, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Thanks for watching The Hollywood Reporter.
Hi, and welcome to Close Up with the Hollywood Reporter Actors. I'm Stephen Galloway, and I'd like to welcome Adam Sandler.
Yes, sir.
Robert De Niro. Adam Driver. Tom Hanks.
Present.
Jamie Foxx. And Shia LaBeouf. Thanks so much for being here. I'm sure you know this anecdote. Dying is easy, comedy is hard. True or false?
Comedy's more difficult, yes. I can't do what Billy Crystal does, Eddie Murphy, Adam, but I can do other things. I mean, I like to think that I work in, say in Marty's movies, just situations that are funny in and of themselves, which is like life, you know. There are so many situations we see. We're in a situation, all of a sudden you say, I wish we could have filmed this, or this situation is so crazy, you know, but it's real. So.
Is there anything in real life you wish you could have filmed, or that you've then brought into a role?
No, I mean, the only thing, say, with Marty Scorsese, working with him, is that you get closer to saying that whatever you want to do, you can actually try and do it, and maybe it'll happen, maybe it'll work. So if you had an idea or something, you say, let me just try that. I say, Marty, let's just try it, you never know. And so it's something, with some directors you don't even go there. You say it's too much work to even attempt to bring it up to them to do that. With Marty, it's, this is, we'll do it, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So that's a great feeling of freedom, and it's just great.
Adam, you come from comedy.
Yes.
Comedy or dying?
Yes.
Which one's easier?
If you have something that either way, something you're confident with, something that seems like you believe in it, I think it's the same feeling. If you believe in a joke, if you believe in a dramatic scene, you go in there with the same approach, I would think, right? Jamie?
Here's the thing. Comedy is a natural thing. Like I just told him, I was watching him in the Comedy Store when I was 18 years old, sneaking in the Comedy Store, watching him go up when it was like Titans, it was Rock, it was Eddie working out shit with it. I remember Eddie had on like this yellow fucking Century 21 jacket. And he was working on these jokes, and somebody said, yo, what's up with that Century 21 jacket? And then you watch Eddie, like, he said, oh, whatever, I'll crush you with my wallet. And then everybody started laughing. So it's interesting. When I look at everybody here, you know, it's respect. And then I look at Adam, I'm like, oh, shit. Before he even said anything, I'm already laughing. So that's one of the first ingredients, is that when you have this natural thing of watching him on his guitar at 1:30 in the morning, doing a bit that he's so dedicated to it, motherfuckers is like, oh, he's, you know, shit. So that's the first ingredient, right?
That's great.
And then the second ingredient is, as comedians, you get a light. Like you get that lift off, that launch, where everything that you're saying is funny, it's hilarious. Like people are giving you that light. I think it only becomes difficult once you reach that top of comedic level. Now people are expecting, you know, the world. You know, when I go talk to Eddie, I was at Eddie's house, and he's talking about getting back into stand-up.
Yeah.
But he's like, how do, you know? I said, well, Eddie, if you want to get into it, I could help you. First thing I do, you got to fix your house. He's like, what you mean? I said, your house is too perfect. All you're just too much. You got the candles scented and all that shit. I said, Eddie, at my crib, I have shit at my house that doesn't work on purpose, so I stay funny. I got this little carpet that's in the kitchen that's sort of ruffled up, and I got a bathroom where you turn on the faucet and it sprays out. And my daughter's like, why don't you fix it? I said, I feel like if I fix all this shit, I won't be funny. So it's like you have to have that. And then when he talked about the situation, like when we're watching, you know, Robert De Niro, the situation that you provide for him makes it all the way funny. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Because now, once you have the ability to be funny, you need the situation in order for it to make sense. Because if not, like this is the worst thing in the world when the director goes like, okay, now just do your thing. Ooh.
Oh.
And now you fucking, you doing your shit, and then when you watch it, you're like, I'm doing my shit, but it doesn't make sense. So that's the part when he says.
Do they only say that in comedy, or do they say it in drama too?
Oh dear, they all say, have fun with it, commit to it. You know. Can you be funny if you grew up with a built-in swimming pool in your backyard? I don't think you can. If you grew up being able to swim anytime you wanted to, you experience none of the shortcomings of life that you turn into self-deprecation.
That's right.
You can't do.
It's tough.
Can you play tragedy though if you grow up, if you have it easy? Doesn't it all come from some inner pain, angst?
Everybody's.
Yeah, sure. You bet. Look, it's like Bertolt Brecht, man. The whole thing is a struggle, and there's where you find your triumph. Here's the thing about it that will kill us all at some point, is it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you have something very specifically that you've known for months you're going to act this beat with this scene, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and it could be anything from rainbirds going off to, you know, taxi cab drivers or something like that honking horns, and it's like, all right, the movie is now upon your shoulders. Don't fuck this up. And then they sit back and you wait, and you got to go there, man. You just got to, tragedy, comedy.
Is there a moment you can think of where that's just a
it happens 10 times a week sometimes, where it's everybody is everybody's making the same movie you are. You know, the crew, the Teamsters, everybody knows that. Oh, today's a scene. You're gonna, you know. Oh, wow, this is gonna be Bill. Look, yeah, we shut down the whole street for this. You know. All right, 11 o'clock. Okay, they're ready. We're ready for a rehearsal. Hi, please give me a gun so I can shoot myself in the hip and not have to do this movie anymore.
You played a comedian in the movie Sally Field.
Oh, Punchline.
Hey, the Safdie brothers told me to tell you that they love Punchline.
Is that right?
They watch Punchline a lot.
Playing a guy who's supposed to be funny, the only way to do that was to go out and develop funny material. And I probably did 6 appearances as something where all I really did was jump up and down on a trampoline. I had no sense of anything.
But you were, because
I
saw you
put it
training.
together.
I saw you training. I was a young comedian at the comic strip. And you used to come in and go up there with and Barry Sobel used to come in.
Yeah, Barry and I, we ended up, and I ended up after a while.
Was he good?
Not that night, not if you saw me at the comic strip.
I saw you a couple times, and you were good. You came up right away where the comedians were mad that you were calm on stage and cool, and you were being yourself.
That took
a
while to get there. But the best I can describe it is you just have to go there. When I was in junior college taking acting classes, and there's 10 of us there, and we've all been to the American Conservatory Theater performances of certain things, and we usually look at comedies going, "Oh yes, that's very funny. Oh, I appreciate the work behind that joke." But the assignment for one day was, okay, on Wednesday everybody's going to come in and you're going to be funny. You're going to make each other laugh. And it was stone, nothing. No one could do anything funny because that was the task at hand. So comedy is hard because you know instantaneously whether or not your soup is good food.
Adam, you were in the military.
See?
These issues
right away.
of acting in drama, dying or comedy, do they seem trivial in comparison?
Well, I mean, one, the stakes you're pretending are life and death, and the other, they kind of are. But the process in which you work on them is the exact same. It's, a group of people trying to accomplish a mission that's bigger than any one person, and you have a role, and you have to know your role within a gun team, and you're only as good as the people that are there with you. There's someone leading it, and when they know what they're doing, what you're doing feels active and relevant and exciting, and when they don't, it feels like a waste of resources and dangerous, and you're just so aware that you're one part of a bigger picture.
How did you switch from being a Marine to being an actor?
I was interested in it before being in the military. Then when you get in the military, you get out, you kind of have all this false confidence that civilian problems will be small in comparison, which is an illusion. But then I was lucky enough to get into an acting school and learned about acting and plays and a process. And then I was lucky enough to work.
Have you ever felt, Shah, that there's a life and death moment in acting where your whole life depends on you pulling this off?
Yes.
Which one?
Every time. It feels like you're next on the chopping block every time.
How do you get past that anxiety?
Prep hard. Yeah. It's like boxing. It's just like boxing. Guys train really hard to go put their neck on the line. Never been in the military, but it feels life and death to me. Yeah, so prep hard, determination. Yeah.
I went last year to the Harry Ransom Center. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's the archive of the University of Texas, which has great papers. And there are Bob's papers. And to actually see your handwriting on, the Raging Bull script. And it was amazing because your scripts are covered with notes. What was the toughest character you actually had to prepare for?
They're all different, depends. Some are harder in some ways than others. And Raging Bull, because of the weight and all that, and the mission, just the physical stuff, awakenings, there was a lot of physical stuff too, and studying how my character behaved and what his affliction was. And then Raging Bull, I read the book. Somebody handed me the book, one of the authors, and I read it while I was doing once in 1900 with Bertolucci, and I called Marty from Italy, and I said, "You gotta, the book's not great literature, but it's got a lot of heart, and I kind of want to do certain things." I remember I used to see Jake LaMotta. He'd work in a kind of a strip place right on 7th Avenue in the 40s. He'd be standing right out there near the sidewalk, and he was overweight and this and that. I said, "Jesus, look what happened to him from then." And I thought just the graphic difference of being out of shape and then being a young fighter, really, that was interesting to me. I thought, I'd like to see if I could really just gain that weight actually and do it. So that was the interest in it. Marty had his reasons, and both of us just come together on the project, and so.
Have any of you had a dream project that you've taken to a director or another actor and said, like, you must do this? Honey Boy was your project, you wrote it.
Yeah.
By the way, if you haven't seen it, it's terrific.
It's unbelievable.
Thank you.
And the man is
So, who did you want to do it with you?
My back was against the wall. I was nuclear at this point, so it wasn't like a dream project. It felt like survival. Like there was no other way to go. I didn't have a lot of people talking to me. You know, I was in a mental institution, so it wasn't like, oh, this is my dream project, I'd like to explore this. It was like, my back's against the wall. This is the craft that I love, and I can't do it anymore. And I also had a doctor who was pushing me to explore these dirty parts and write it down. And yeah, so it wasn't like a dream project thing. More, it felt more like necessity, like survival, like something different.
You said you're in a mental institution. I don't want to ask you two personal questions, but is there anything you discovered there that's been helpful for your acting?
Yeah, empathy for my father, you know, who was always the biggest villain in my life, you know, and I think if you can empathize with the biggest villain in your life and sort of scrape some of these shadows, and it makes you lighter and freer. I don't think I was leading with love, and my life has changed. You may or may not attest, but I feel like when you lead with lightness and love, you can get to the heavy easier. You know, it's much easier, it's much more accessible. Like anger and the rough shit is very easy. You know, it's the other stuff that feels quite difficult. You know, get an honest laugh is very hard.
I tell you, when I have to laugh in a movie, I can't do that.
Yeah, really? It's tough.
No.
What do you mean, like laugh?
If my
Like a
character's
genuine
supposed to
laugh.
have a genuine laughing moment, I'd rather get a genuine anything else. I'm always just like,
Yes.
Is it easier for you to cry? You have that big moment in Uncut Gems where you're really emotional. Is
Right.
it easier than laughing?
maybe not. I'm not great at crying.
What are you great at?
I'm not sure yet. I don't even think I should be at this table. Yeah, crying when it's written in a script and then he breaks down and that really gets me tense for a while. You had a massive one in Marriage Story. Every time I see that performance of somebody breaking down, I'm like, oh man, that's incredible.
How did you get to that point?
It's not something you push for. You don't push for emotion. It's just, it either happens or it doesn't. You know, you can't like anticipate it or nothing will happen. But you know, there's a lot of things that in that instance are supporting you. The script is so good and it's well written. If it was badly written, there's only one way to do it. If it's well written, you know, the language is so rich that every time you say it, it opens up an idea for something else. And because Noah has structured, and Adam knows this from working with Noah and Meyerowitz, the text is the text, and I find that incredibly freeing because your intention could be anything. And if you're with another actor as Scarlett in that instance, and the set, Noah's giving you another piece of information that maybe you hadn't thought of before, or the line, or you got in a fight with your wife before the scene starts, or maybe nothing. Maybe you're having a good moment before the scene starts. It just opens up your imagination of a different way of reading it. You know, he's taken basically a 4-month run of a play and condensed it to 2 days. You know, so I think that's easier. If it's just have an emotion, I don't think I can do that.
Do you take that emotion home with you?
I don't think so. I mean,
Like
I
a
don't know.
release after it's done.
Take the exhaustion home.
No,
Right.
no. So I mean, it's a release. It's like you did that. That's there. Take a break. Come back. Sometimes, though, there is a residual something that you have to be aware of. I think. As an
For you
actor.
too, Tom?
It's a physiological process that incorporates your emotions and the sinews of your body. It's funny, laughing and weeping are two very physical acts.
Yeah.
You know, they're not up here. I mean, when I cry, man, my face turns into rubber.
Oh, yes.
You know, you bend over into some kind of thing. And you can only get there if the text takes you there. And there's this great commonality of moments like that, in which, like I said earlier, everybody's making the movie and everybody knows that tonight or this day is going to be an emotional thing. And your job is to forget that it's on a schedule and just live it and be it, and you can't push it. It actually has to come out.
Oh, I'm just emotional.
Yeah.
I'm always crying. I'm just
Really?
I cry for everything.
That's great.
I don't know, but I'll be crying about stuff that really my accountant just called me and said, you don't have to. You tried to buy a private plane. And she was like, what the fuck? Run the scene. So it's like, you know, I should be going through my life.
Gets us all.
Yeah,
when we get that call, it just ruins the day.
Shit is going on in my life, so I'm easy. I cry easy.
What's been your toughest moment?
I think the toughest thing being a comedian is watching other comedians blow. Like, Eddie blew up. Oh shit, you know, and then you know, Martin. And so I'm like, okay, where's my thing? But then you see that they've touched all of the comic bases. I remember going in and reading for Russell Simmons for some comedy, and I was doing my thing, and he was going, no, that's Eddie. Oh, that's Martin. That's Martin again. That's Rock. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And he was, no, I was just saying, you sound like Chris Rock, you sound like Eddie. So that was tough because I was like, damn, I don't have nowhere to go, right? And then like, you know, this cool thing where Oliver Stone opened up. It was, you know, this Any Given Sunday thing, which is more dramatic, and so I don't know if that's a tough thing, but it was just like, man, let me go get with him, and it was an incredible. It opened up a whole nother thing, and then the tough part was getting back to being funny.
Yeah,
because like, you know, like the young folks, they see me like, oh, here's this dude using Django.
Right.
And now I'm doing jokes, and man, why Django being funny like that? So it's like, now I have to try to get back to.
What about you? Did you find that hard too after?
I've done so many comedies. Also, I have so many comedies on TV. I don't have a hard time getting back into that. People are just, when I get to do something like this, like Uncut Gems, and I haven't done that many dramas. Maybe I've done like 6 or 7 over 30 years worth. I'm always excited doing them. It's a different excitement for me because I'm not sure of myself. You know, when you do comedies, you kind of, I mean, you grew up doing them. I grew up as a kid being in comedies. It's a different, lighter feel on the set. It's exciting. There's nothing better for a comedian than going home and go, oh, I think we killed that scene. That's going to be funny. It's how audience is going to like that. But this, a drama, man, getting it right and feeling like you gave it your all, and that excitement of reading script and going, oh, that scene's going to be incredible. Then actually shooting it and it comes out the way you want it to, or maybe not exactly the way you wanted to, but something happened big for you. That's as good.
Are you hard on yourself when it doesn't come out that way? Do you go home and torture yourself?
Oh my God! If there's something great written that I don't think I got to where I was supposed to get, I'm really mad at myself.
Me too.
Yeah, you're disappointed. The only thing is that like you were saying, you don't push for anything. I mean, I don't. If you push, you're not going to get it. So you just have to take what comes. Try and find ways to get there, but you just can't be anxious about it. You know, it's like the thing, you know, the actor, he can't remember his lines, so he can't act anymore. So he's working in the garage, and somebody, the director comes over and says, listen, I just want you to say, Hawk, I hear the cannon roar in the third act, you know. So I said, okay, so I'll go do it. He goes, yeah, so they rehearse, and then at home, you know, he's working, Hawk, I hear the cannon roar, Hawk, I hear the cannon roar, Hawk, I hear the cannon roar. Every variation, every race ready, the third act ready to go after 5 weeks rehearsal. He goes backstage, he's ready, you know, the first act goes, no problem, he's waiting, Hawk, I hear the cannon roar, second act, everything like that, fine. Third act, he's there backstage. Then stage manager comes, okay, ready, and he's hearing the play out there, and he's, boom. Go on, he's going to say, Hawk, I hear the cannon roar, Hawk, I hear the cannon roar. Then you hear a bang, turns around. What the fuck was that?
Are you self-critical?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that you ever get over, because in a way you kind of know what your potential is more than anybody else. In a sense, I have a lot of regret often when you leave a set. You can't help but, think about it, and obviously it's film, so film is forever, so you never get a chance to go back and do it again. I feel like that's the thing about acting, is that you, regardless of how often you do it or how long you do it, you never figure it out. That
even do you prefer theatre because of that? Or?
I've learned from theatre in that, you always at the end of a 4-month run of a play, you're always the last performance. It's always the best one, and you're like, okay, now I have a better sense of what I want to do and go back. So I know that there's no right answer. There's no right way to play a scene. That's my part of it. I like the making of it, and it's someone else's responsibility to make the choice of what is the best version of it. But I know that there's no right way, and you would just have to feel comfortable with failing, and you either get easier on yourself, I think, about like, okay, then I'll let it go, or you don't. But I don't think you'll ever figure that out, Wes. So I think people keep doing it. I think, but I don't know.
I'm looking at you, Tom. Are you self-critical? Do you go home and writhe, or?
There have been too many times where I thought I really cracked something over the fence, and then I saw it and I said, well, that is just, that's as exciting as a closing door. Yeah. And there's other times that I had no, I didn't, all I could do was stumble around a bit. And it's fantastic. And there's no, it's odd, you almost have no control. Yeah. For me, it has come down to whether or not the procedure and the behavior that was asked of you is authentic. Mm-hmm. And if it is, then you got to leave it up to serendipity. And those fabulous people that are willing to look at your, every eyebrow and pore on your face and decide what's going to be the best take or what's going to end up being in the movie.
Do you know when a director...
I would even say, in a way, it's not even your job, really. I mean, I think it's not your job to feel anything. It's the audience's job. So I obviously have been thinking about something for a long time, and you finally get there and do it. You want to feel something just because you feel like you put the effort in. But it's not really my responsibility to feel something. It's to telegraph that something is being felt. But it's hard to reconcile that, to not feel like you got there and you actually... It feels like it's going to be more authentic, but I mean, to your point, you could be having all the feeling you want, but no one is feeling anything. And your job is to tell the story, not have a feeling in front of people.
When we were doing Captain Phillips, and we were in this lifeboat, the script had all these great moments where Rich Phillips looked through the porthole of the lifeboat and as the sun was going down and was thinking of his family at home and whether or not he was going to see them. So you could sit around in Malta, where we were shooting, and say, oh, that's going to be a powerful moment because I'm going to line up in the porthole and it's just going to be like this. It's going to be really great. Then you go to work and there is no porthole in the lifeboat. So you got it like take away. It's almost though you cannot prepare. You can only just be there.
The movie process, it's a little bit different, if you know what I mean. It's like...
You mean from theater?
No, just not even that. Just like when I was on Any Given Sunday, I remember Oliver Stone, when I first auditioned, was like, you're horrible, when I auditioned. And I was like, what? Because I was a television actor. So everything I did was loud. Yeah, so you better understand this with the football in the air, man. And he was like, get the fuck out of here. And I remember
all of it can be tough.
Huh?
All of it can be tough.
No, but I learned from that toughness. Meaning like when he finally decided to, make the decision for me to be the lead, he still would grill me. He said, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it. Like working with Quentin Tarantino, and I watched an actor struggle because the set was like, it was heavy. I mean, you had Samuel Jackson here, you had Leo. I mean, it was some juggernauts, and Samuel, come on, motherfucker, say that shit. Yeah. And the dude was trying to say, come on, get it.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy was trying to get his line, and I watched Quentin Tarantino go, tell me, I'll tell you, that's right, just say that.
Right, yeah.
And I was like, damn, this shit ain't gonna work out, right? But then you see the movie. So I said, God damn. And Quentin said, all I need is one.
Sure.
Even working with Christoph Waltz, watching him work, I learned a little more about movie. I watched him fold a paper. This motherfucker wrote on a thing and was just supposed to put it in his pocket. It seemed like it took him forever to do it. He was like, and it was nothing else existed but that moment, right? Christoph Waltz's process wasn't that I'm gonna have all of these things memorized and do all of these things at once. He would give you these, calm yourselves, gentlemen, one more time. Calm yourselves, gentlemen, I am but a weary traveler. And we were watching it, and Leo was like, I said, Leo, you think you got it? He's got something, pal. Just keep watching, some shit is going on, pal. And you see all these little bits of things, and then all of a sudden in the movie, boom, calm yourselves, gentlemen. I was like, oh, shit. And then I'd like to thank the Academy.
I like it about Oliver because you hear so many stories about people who've worked with him. Who, Shai, has most intimidated you that you've worked with, and who have you learned from the most? Everyone's intimidated by Oliver, right?
Yeah, different. Not intimidated. He would never look me in the eyes. He always looked just above my eye, to the eyelid. Yeah.
Why?
It's just his way. Maybe just with me. But probably